I've mentioned this before. There's a study that happened it looked at online dating profiles that look like online dating habits, and it also conducted in-person interviews. Again, it included a sample size of about 1 million people, looked at a popular dating website. It was a peer-reviewed study conducted by a team of sociologists over a span of a couple of years. So this was a rather intensive study. And again, what it found after looking at that study, when it looked at preferences that women had across races, minority women, Latina women, Asian women, Black women, some Indian women, what it found was that these women, for whatever reason, responded primarily, first and foremost, to white men who reached out to them. And then they responded to men of their own race. So again, they responded first and foremost, most often to white men, secondarily to men of their own race. Basically meaning there was a higher preference for white men that all minority women showed, not just Black women, but all minority women, Latina, Asian, Black women, whatever, all showed. And then secondarily, it was to men of their own race. And then they looked at, how they filtered. You had some minority women who filtered race of their own men out. You had some minority women who, they did all kinds of different things to show their preference. But this is what the data was found. And so that particular short I was breaking down, not my opinion, not what I just woke up one day and decided to make up, but what some of the different data was finding. Now, of course, that makes people really mad. It just doesn't really sound good. It doesn't sound good to the sisterhood narrative. And then for those, in the pro-Black community who want to believe that everybody loves Black people and that all Black people love Black people, that didn't sound good to them. So I got a lot of pushback. But the numbers are what they are. What the data also found was that although these women were really interested, highly interested in these men of other races, primarily white men, it did not necessarily mean that white men were interested in them. This is what I think it's really hard for Black women to grapple with when it comes to them dating out. There are men out there who have no interest in Black women when it comes to marriage. They have zero interest in ever having a Black wife and ever having mixed mulatto kids or ever having Black kids who are going to be perceived as Black by the society. There are men out there, people out there who think that, but they will have fun with you. They will sleep with you. They will brag about you to their fraternity brothers. They will brag about you to their friends. Some of them have lists. They will do this. They may even have you as a side piece, or they may even claim you as a girlfriend for a couple of years. But when it comes down to who are they going to be settling down with? Who are they going to give their last name to? Who are they going to share their legacy, their assets? Black women are nowhere on that list. I'm not saying that this is for everybody. It's important to say, I'm not saying this is every situation. Obviously, I know people who are in happy, thriving interracial relationships. But I also won't pretend this doesn't exist. It does exist, and it still exists today. Just keep that in mind. Because what happens is this whole divester swirling movement to dating out movement, it's not really dealing with the dangers. It's not dealing with the reality, the consequences, the different things that women need to navigate. It's just pretending like Black women can just hop over to the white community and choose the top ranking men with no issue, as if white women don't exist, as if preferences don't exist, as if white men don't generally have preferences for their own women. So it's the movement, it's completely deluded and delusional. And this is why I think you can have women who these situations happen between, white men liking a white woman, not a big deal, but they're all up in arms because in their brain, it's like this almost weird sense of affirmative action, as if high value white men deserve or owe Black women a chance. As if just because a Black man decides to sleep with a Black woman or date a Black woman for 2 seconds, he now owes Black women his loyalty. And I'm like, I don't know where this delusional thinking is coming from, but it's not real. Understand how these dynamics work. Men rank women. Men, especially men in the world, men who are not, they're not thinking God-fearing, they're not trying to be honorable, whatever, men who are just like, they just want to have fun. They are ranking women. They're saying, you're wife material, you're just hit it and quit it, you're just a side piece. And so a lot of women, they'll go when they have all these fantasy situations of being Mrs. Cartwright, as some of y'all say up in the comments, being Miss Ann, got Miss Ann syndrome, thinking that they're going to be the Taylor Swift. But actually, they just end up being the side piece. And they're confused when they're treated like the side piece and not treated like the wife. And it's because they don't understand the way these things operate. So again, here's some further information that kind of helps break down how people see dating and how people perceive dating and perceive others behind closed doors, not when they're on television or at a job or in a certain place where they're trying to be nice and they're trying to be politically correct. And no, how people choose when nobody else is watching, how people choose when they're not trying to impress people, they're not trying to come off as racist, one, make sure they don't come off as racist, and one, make sure they don't come off as prejudiced, how people choose when there's no filters. This is what this information is looking at. Okay, here, so it says, Figure 4.1, we illustrate how open Black, Asian, and Latina women and gay men are interacting with white men compared to those from their own racial groups. Almost every minority group responds more readily to white men than to men from their own racial group. The pattern is clearest among straight minority women. It says gay, Asian, and Latino men appear to favor whites, while Black men, on the other hand, appear to privilege other gay Black men. So again, it was looking at basically who had a high preference for white men, and they showed basically all minority women, and obviously white women had a preference for white men. And then it also showed that gay men had a preference for white men, except Black men. Black gay men were the only group of people in there who were not into white men like that. Black gay men actually showed a higher preference for other Black men. So that was interesting caveat. But again, we're seeing what I illustrated to be true. And why is this important? Why is this important? Why is it important to know that all these races of women have a preference for white men? Because now when I ask, are Black women willing to compete for white men? What we're showing is that there's actually competition. Black women can't just hop into the white community and act like they have the first pick. These white men, especially successful, high-value white men, have white women to choose from, Black women to choose from, Asian women to choose from, Latinas, minorities. High-value white men especially have all these races of women who generally show interest in them. So it's not like you just get to sit there with your bonnet and your furry flip-flops and your rich prince is going to come up just randomly to your apartment complex and then just take you and have you living in a mansion, live happy ever after. That's not happening. That's not real life. That is a Disney movie somewhere. In real life, these kinds of men who are running in these circles, the kind of men are highly desirable, the Travis Kelces of the world. Not only do they have options within women of their own community, they have all these other races of women who are showing interest in them. So when I say, ladies, are you willing to compete for white men? This is exactly what I mean. I'm not making this stuff up. This is what I mean. Here the study points to this idea. It says powerful white male privilege in the online dating market. And basically what it's saying is, of course there's nuance to this. You obviously have white men who still have their own issues in dating and mating market. That's what the manosphere is about, right? White incels exist. I'm not pretending that like every white man just has 15 women, just all these. That's just not reality, because there's still the 80-20 rule, hypergamy. But what it is saying is that if you take a comparable Black, Asian, and white man, where they're comparable in height and looks and money or whatever, generally white men are going to have an advantage. It's not to say that a Black man or Asian man or Latino man can't say that they still can't have access to women. I mean, men know once they hit a certain threshold of finances or wealth, it's easier to have beautiful women. But what it's just saying is when it talks to privilege, when it looks to who these women are primarily looking at and why, they are saying that it is primarily white guys. That, again, that's what we're saying. So again, when I go back to, are Black women willing to compete for white men? This is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean. I didn't make this stuff up, people. I didn't just wake up one day and decide to just make up fairy tales. This is real life. But these ideas that are floating around are fairy tales, and that's the problem.